During the course of this defensive actions, we are going to be going through a few zones. First of which I want to cover is the chest zone. We've already covered this in practice. However, this is where that chest zone is at. We are going to make all of our ball screen coverages here as blitzes, and we're going to cover that in just a little bit. Right after that is what I would call our dead zone. If the ball gets into this zone right here, our defense is dead. We have to make sure under any circumstance the ball stays out of that zone. Guards, forwards, ball players now practice the floater from that area. On top of that, if somebody were to jump stop and get into that zone, they could pass it relatively easy to various places onto the court. Next, we have our commit zone. So anytime the ball is in the corner, we are going to commit them to the baseline in order to drive straight towards our help. At this point, we will turn our butts away from the baseline, cutting off any angle to come back up or the ball to come back up from that corner. We want to keep the ball in the corner and then to baseline, which leads to our trap. These areas right here is where we are going to trap our help side, who is going to be inside the key. The middle of the key is going to trap this zone here. The reason for it being outside of the key is it then erases any type of judgment the official will have for the restricted area. It better ensures our defensive liability. And the next is our force side zone. So the moment we get out of that chest zone, we are going to force baseline to sideline, or rather sideline to baseline. So first thing we're going to do is take our top foot over the top, put our chests over their inside shoulder and force them to the sideline. No straight drives at this point. Next, this is what I call the soapbox. So in the soapbox, whoever is in that soapbox has to forever commit to speaking to their teammates. So anybody who's in here that we cannot hear as a team, as a coaching staff on the bench, you're failing your job being in this soapbox. And finally, these are what our zones look like. Okay, so we have our chest zone up top, then we're forcing sideline to baseline. And if the ball ever gets to those corners, which is exactly where we want it, we're going to commit it, make sure that it doesn't come back up, force baseline into the trap. The entire time the middle or the soapbox is going to be talking. Let's quickly review the zones. The middle third of the court will be called the chest zone. No matter what happens, we will force our chest in front of the ball handler, steering them to the sideline. In the outside third of the court, we will force the sideline to the baseline. It is a priority to avoid allowing the ball to flow to the middle of the court again. This is the dead zone. Our defense collapses once the ball arrives in this area. We must not allow any paint touches here, no matter the circumstances. Once they get here, the offense has too many options that disadvantage the defense. This pull-up jumper is fine. We will live with it. Closing out to not allow the ball handler to enter the dead zone is important to how strong this defense is. Close out with your inside hand up and your feet and chest shading the outside shoulder of the ball handler. Make sure to not overcommit. We must not allow straight line drives to the basket. Even without help, we make this a difficult shot angle. In the corner, we commit the ball handler to dribble baseline. Here, we will trap with the help side having 2 feet outside of the key. As you can see, there is no need to reach for the ball. Naturally, the ball handler will panic and give the ball to you or one of your teammates. Here, you will notice the baseline trap after the defense recovers and reroutes. The help on top denies the cutter or roll man, while the other 2 defenders account for 3 backside. Here, you can see good defense, but even the slightest mistakes still allow the offense to penetrate. We should normally front the post. More on that later. Dribble penetration to the dead zone is simply a failure. This brings us to one of our rules. You must front the low post and allow the backside help to be the primary interceptors. Here, Houston is being very aggressive to front the low post, which forces the big almost to the three-point line. This is a victory in itself. Sometimes, fronting the low post allows the defender to be in the perfect position to intercept the pass when the ball handler makes a mistake. Other times, like in this next clip, the offense burns the clock trying to get it into the low post. Watch as they swing the ball around, trying to take advantage of the mismatch. By the time they see no help, the angle is so bad for the passer, they end up throwing it out of bounds. These next few clips will cover our ball screen coverage. Outside of our chest zone, we will ice the screen and push to the sideline. The teammate who's guarding the screener will always make the call. Here, we will yell ice, and that tells the on-ball defender to flip their hips middle and put their chest to the sideline. We will be running out of a step up or drop down coverage depending on how good the ball handler is. We will step up against primary ball handlers and drop down against secondary ball handlers. The backside help will tag any cutters through the key, and the top help will tag the potential roller. Even when the ball is released, it still gives the defense enough time to recover and force the sideline. In this clip, I want to slow it down. Loyola Chicago is among the best at icing the screens and forcing the ball handler in the opposite direction of the screen. As you could see, the defense flips their hips and the drop coverage ensues by the defender of the screener. They position themselves in the driving lane where the ice forces the ball handler. Meanwhile, the other two defenders are in constant communication while being in the soapbox. The top on the help side tags the potential roll, and the bottom help is making sure to guard any further penetration toward the hoop by the other offensive players. Additionally, that bottom defender in help knows they have first pass. Finally, we have a handoff. We will switch to impact our chest and force the ball handler back sideline to baseline. And now, my favorite rule, blitz our chest zone. We do not hedge. A hedge is when our backs are to the middle as seen here. This is a proper blitz. The high foot of the screener is the line of scrimmage. The defender who has their offensive player setting the screen will call blitz. At this point, the on-ball defender will attach themselves to the hip of the ball handler and go over the screen while the other defender slides on the line of scrimmage. Another example of this can be observed from the on-ball defender making a better effort to attach themselves to the hip. Once we see the ball being picked up, we are in recovery. We must cover the closest passes and only allow the furthest pass to look appetizing. Even when we do a poor job of rotating, if we hustle in recovery, we will still be in a position to defend. The trigger for recovery is when the ball handler has turned their back and the on-ball defender has recovered. See how quickly the defense recovers and communicates. There must be constant communication for this to work. In this clip, the defense forgets to tag the roller. Even though this occurs and it looks like they have a lane to the basket, when they stick to their rules for recovery, good things happen. A quick look at how to adjust on a spread offense. The defender opposite the direction of the ball handler will tag the roller, and the defender must hustle to contest the shot. That leads us to our next rule, high hands. As part of the recovery, When the ball handler picks up the ball, the on-ball defender must have their hands up and jump to cut off the passing lanes. This allows bad passes and time for your teammates to recover. We will see this over and over again, as this will be a big part of our defense. We must play on the ball aggressively, with our help being ruthless. Houston has a trademark on defense, and that trademark is unbound ruthless aggression. Our defense must be relentless with our rotations and our pressure. Even with a slip, if our help is ruthlessly active and the on-ball defender has high hands, we will see success more often than failure. In this clip, I will slow it down so we may observe how aggressive you must be. Houston is the #1 defense in NCAA Division I basketball for 6 years straight. They emphasize this every day. I like to call this style of defense an end-of-game defense. You may not see turnovers right away, but you will see bad shots. In the second half, as your opponent tries to decrease the deficit, you'll begin to see the turnovers. As you can see here, Houston coaches teach this. Here, we can see the blitz action in full effect. There is a picked up dribble, and the hands automatically go up. Defenders 1, 2, and 3 guard the top side, as defender 3 tags the roll man and awaits for defender 1 to recover. The communication on the backside lets the bottom defender know they have 2. They cheat up, leaving the longest pass available. Because the defense is moving with a purpose and everybody is in constant communication, by the time the offense finds an open individual, they are rushing the pass and the defense has enough time to recover. In this defense, it is vital that we deny the corner 3 and the offensive drive to the middle. This means we must also stunt with our butts to the baseline. Here, we can see the defender stunt while not losing their man, keeping their butt to baseline. In this next clip, we see a drive middle, and this defender stunt, butt to baseline. We must also recognize a potential shooter and force them to put the ball on the floor. Fly by on the high side. We are going to see a few clips where the defense is slow to recover back to the shooter. The solution is to fly by the shooter on the high side. Houston teaches to fly by on the baseline. We will not do this. If everyone does their job correctly, the plays often look like this. Of course, if you are after coach's heart and you want to earn your playing time, you have to take the charge. You are about to see one of Houston's best defensive possessions. Everyone is moving with a purpose. Everyone is communicating. And finally, they put enough pressure on the offense by draining the shot clock that the offense commits to a bad choice and forces the ball. The help defender puts themselves in a position to take the charge. In these next few clips, I want you to focus on the selflessness of the defense. Defense is aggressive, defense is ruthless, and most of all, defense is selfless. To be the number one defense, you must mentally prepare for every movement your opponent makes. You must be 5 individuals acting as a single unit.